Parliament ends reading the proposed law on the allocation of residential plots and raise its meeting to March 23. Expanded. Revision date 2019-3-14-1635. 198 times read. Baghdad, Al-Furet News. The House of Representatives in its fourth session of the second semester of the first legislative year in the fourth parliamentary session, chaired by Mohammed Halbousi, the Speaker of the House of Representatives on Thursday, read two laws. At the beginning of the meeting, President Halbousi called on the parliamentary blocs to speed up the resolution of the file of presidencies of parliamentary committees to ensure that the work is not confused, indicating that a book will be directed by the Council to the government for the purpose of limiting the numbers of elements of the security services renewed their contracts and find out the amount of funds to add to the last third of the budget of the fiscal year and the distinction between a person who fails to fulfill his national duty and who has been dissolved for other reasons. The Council voted to postpone the first reading of the proposed law to abolish the offices of Inspectors General and submitted by the Committees of Integrity and Legal to be presented at the next meeting. He stressed the support of the Council for a comprehensive reform in the state institutions, calling on the concerned committees to speed up the introduction of legislation related to the reform process. The presidency of the Council postponed the first reading of the proposal to amend the law of the Federal Court No. 30 for the year 2005 until Saturday until the response of the Supreme Judicial Council on the Council's inquiry on the opinion of the Judicial Council and their ownership of any proposals on the proposed law. The President of the Council hosted the head of the Ports Board and Director General of the General Authority of Customs at the next session. The presidency of the Council postponed the reading of the report and discussion of the draft law of the First Amendment to the Law of the Fund for the Recovery of Iraqi Funds No. 9 for 2012 and submitted by the Committees of Integrity and Finance to the next session. He called Halbousi Committee of Regions to hold a meeting with the Legal Committee next week for the purpose of resolving the discussion of the draft law on provincial elections, urging the benefit of the law of the elections of the House of Representatives in force and the views and proposals of ladies and gentlemen MPs. The Council concluded the reading of the report and discussion of the draft law amending the Companies Law No. 21 of 1997 and submitted by the Committee on Economy and Investment. The MPs' interventions focused on the importance of ensuring the likelihood of the Iraqi partner in the management of companies and not less than 51% and finding control over the decision to cancel companies and not requiring that the decision to liquidate companies on the basis of being lost companies. In its response to the interventions, the concerned committee confirmed the consideration of the opinions and proposals of deputies for the purpose of the draft law. Mr. Halbousi presented the final report of the Commission on the Truth in Ninua Province at the next meeting for the purpose of discussion. The House of Representatives completed the first reading of the proposed law on the allocation of land plots for Iraqi families, which comes in application of the provisions of the Iraqi Constitution and ensure the provision of adequate housing for the individual and Iraqi families and maintain their dignity and ties. The Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives Bashir Haddad, while presiding over part of the meeting, the Legal Committee approached the government for the purpose of view its opinion on the proposed law. Support. A near final agreement on candidates for the Interior and Defense editorial date 2019-3-14-1640, 170 times read. Baghdad, Al-Furet News. Rep for Reform and Reconstruction Hassan Fattah, about a semi-final agreement on the names of candidates for the Ministries of Interior and Defense. He said support for the agency. Euphrates News. That dialogues and meetings are ongoing between the Coalition of Reform and Construction on the completion of the Cabinet cabin. Some were announced and some were not announced. He added that the atmosphere is very positive for solutions, asserting the resolution of the Cabinet cabin the current legislative term of the House of Representatives. He pointed out that there is almost a final agreement on some names to take up positions of defense and interior.